You're tuned in to Tip of the CHRISTberg. Don't forget what you heard. This is your boy, Disciple for Jesus, Theo. Just call me DJ Theo for short. What's good, family? We're back to do yet another insight to another spiritual solution. Today's spiritual solution is entitled Stinking Kinking. Not stinking thinking, but that's where I got the term from, but stinking kinking. And I'll explain a little bit more about what it is or what that means. So, in a nutshell, what today's spiritual solution is about is taking action. We can have an idea to do something, or God has placed something in our spirit to go do something. It could be as simple as us going to pray for someone. It could be starting a job, could be starting a business. It's a number of things that it could be. All right. But the thing is, there's a point where we plan it and then we need to do something. Right. And I'll just use myself today as an example with my book, which in the picture that I use for today's spiritual solution is actually the picture of my first book that I did, Volume 1, because Volume 2 is coming. Matter of fact, this spiritual solution that I'm doing now will be in Volume 2. But it comes a point where you have an idea and then you do something about it. So when I originally started doing spiritual solutions, it literally started out as just a couple words or a sentence. And I started out with a few cousins that I started sending it out to. And it just grew into what you see now as a full-blown spiritual solution. I had no idea where it was going to go, but God placed it in my spirit that, hey, you need to start writing. That would be good therapy for you. And it really was. And it blessed me so much and it made me smile so much after I wrote one, not because, hey, I did something deep, because really it's God that gives me what I write anyway, but it was because it helped me. It healed me. So I put them out, and then they just progressed and advanced into what it is now, a book. And now I'm doing podcasts. I guess I can call this a podcast. I'm not sure yet. I guess I would need to look up what the definition of a podcast is. But I just started with one thing and it just kept growing into another. I was defeated when I started posting them to Facebook, because I probably was writing for about a year before I ever started posting them to Facebook, because I opened up a Facebook page just to start putting them on there. And then it grew into what it is now. But I kept getting feedback. It was like, hey, I hope you're putting these in a book. Hey, I hope you're putting these in a book. And I had no idea of even doing that. I really was just doing something to give back to people, or just to give to people, because it was blessing me. And I knew it could help people. If anybody can reap like I reaped from what I wrote, because again, it's not me writing, it's God that inspires me to write. But if anybody could reap what I reap from my writings, then I know it was going to bless someone. So that's why I wrote it. And so when I wasn't answering the call of man, when they say, hey, you should write a book, and I say, hey, you know what? Man says I should go write a book, or put these in a book. So let me do that. I prayed about it. I was like, God, if this is what I'm supposed to do, I'm going to make the first steps. If you give me blockades or interruptions, or you just keep putting up stops where it's not going to happen, then it's not for me. I swear it's one of the easiest processes. It was just step by step. I just did the first thing, then the second thing happened. God linked me up with someone when I was working at LA Fitness then, with someone who published books. She was like, just give me everything you have. I'll put it into a form for you. It came with a fee, of course, but still, I didn't know how to do it. And I needed someone to help me along the way. But God put somebody in my path because he saw that I was ready to take the steps to go toward that. And then I would say a few months later, half a year later, I had a book just like that. But it never would have happened if I didn't make that first step, if I didn't pray about it and then move. So it came from a planning point to actually doing something about it. So here we are with the podcast. Now, so the podcast is good. I'm going to go ahead and call it a podcast because I'm not sure if I can call it anything else. So the podcast that I'm doing now is very primitive at best. I have no backdrop. There's no editing whatsoever. But that's okay, though, because I got the main ingredient, the message. Don't miss that. I got the main ingredient, the message. All right. God will give you something that he wants you to do something with. We have these grand notions of what we want it to be. And if we continue on, it very well could be that. But we try to wait until every single piece is in place before we try to attempt it and start off at that grand idea, right? It doesn't always work like that. I would say 99.9% of the times it does not work like that. As a matter of fact, that grand idea, and after you have everything that you think you need, and once you get started, trust me, there's still going to be something else you need to tweak. All right. There's plenty of room. If you start off at the best you're going to be at whatever you start off at, then you're probably really not that good, if that makes any sense. I'll say it like this. I'm just going to repeat it, say a little bit slower. If you start off at something and that's the best you're ever going to be at it, then you're probably not that good at it, if that makes sense. Hopefully it does. So, but just to recap, there's always going to be something extra you can do. There's always going to be a way that you can make it better. Again, I don't have any backdrops. I don't have any editing right now, but I'm pretty sure that is going to grow into that. Prime example, this is my 5th or 6th one that I've done. Okay, I'm mic'd up. I don't know if you noticed, but I'm mic'd up now. $22. As I watched the videos that I did before, I was like, hey, I wonder what I can do with the sound. So I just Googled microphones, mini microphones for cell phones. Boom, I found it on Amazon, 22 bucks, ordered it. And as you can tell, no matter how far I go back or no matter how close I get, the sound is the same. Simple stuff like that, that you just tweak and you adjust as you go along. So the reason that I'm glad that you all, whoever is tuning in, and if you haven't watched this one, go back to the very first one. You'll see how much better it got. Going back to the joke on my shirt, my wife said, okay, you can't get on camera with it. You can't get on camera with a shirt like that. You look stank. All right. So, I mean, if you look at the first ones, the second and third ones, you'll see how it's slowly progressing. Now I have an opening because I really didn't know exactly what I wanted the opening to be. So now I say you're tuning the tip of the CHRISTberg. Don't forget what you heard. Because, you know, a lot of the term is forget what you heard. But no, I don't want you to forget what you heard. This is the tip of the CHRISTberg. I'm giving you insight because it's a lot that goes on behind the spiritual solution. There's a lot that goes on behind anything. Anything that takes effort, there's a lot that goes behind the scene for the piece that other people see. You know, they see that small piece, but there's so much that goes behind the scene. All right. So we're at 8 minutes. I need to read the spiritual solution so we can get you out of here. I may be at 12 minutes by the time I'm done. But hopefully you can live with that. But again, so just take this podcast as an example. Watch where it is now and watch how God blesses it to be what it's going to be and go to the levels that it's going to go to. Not my idea, not my plan. My sole purpose when I started doing this was to give insight to the spiritual solution. Hopefully it can help somebody a little bit more, because I know that we'll watch the videos before we'll read the full spiritual solution, which is okay, because this is giving you insight to it anyway. So you may even glean more from it by watching this. But I'm still going to post it on my Facebook page, Theo Blake, Theo Blake, Theo Blake. Make sure you follow me. If that's not where you're watching this link from, just send me a Facebook request and I'll accept it. All right. Matter of fact, I need to go, since the last time I said that, I hadn't checked to see who was new. So if you sent me a request, my apologies. Let me get to it. So just watch how this podcast grows, and this spiritual solution that I'm doing now will be evident in how it progresses. And again, it's called stinking kinking. All right. Listen up. Stinking kinking. We've all heard the term stinking thinking, which refers to a thought process that isn't conducive to progress. But today we're calling it stinking kinking. Listen up. One of the main reasons people never act on their revelations, ideas, or dreams is because they attempt to work out all of the kinks in their minds before moving forward, which truthfully is impossible. True, we should consider the probable ramifications, then research them, but there's only so many areas and errors we can uncover without actually getting experience firsthand. And what I mean by that is We can plan out. You can come up with all the different things that can go wrong. I'm going to need A, B, C, D, 1, 2, 3. But there's still going to be some things that you will not know that need to be done until you actually start doing it. So let's ask ourselves. In a lot of my spiritual solutions, you'll hear me use the term, so let's ask ourselves. That comes from self-reflection. When we stop and we take a look at ourselves and we're honest and transparent with ourselves, we'll find a lot of flaws and ways that things can be better. All right. But we have to be honest with ourselves. It hurts. Sometimes we want to cry because of the flaws that we have. And it's like, why am I not doing better at that? Or why is that even one of my flaws? Whatever the case may be, take an honest look at ourselves. So let's ask ourselves. You will hear me say that a lot, because one of the best ways to become better and to hold ourselves accountable is self-reflection. So let's ask ourselves, are we playing it safe or playing it saved? We all know what playing it safe is. If we have a good job, and I say, quote unquote, good job, the furlough has proved to us that not even the government is safe. So, if the government isn't safe in their jobs, none of us are safe. But do we want to play it safe because we have savings, a bank account, this and that, all those things that could be wiped away at the drop of a dime? Do we want to play it safe or play it saved? Because when we play it safe, a lot of times we won't act on what God wants us to do because we're already comfortable where we are, and it's going to stretch us to do what God wants us to do. It's going to put us into some unfamiliar and uncomfortable territories. But that's okay if you're following Christ and you know that he's leading you. Play it saved. Because if we're washed in the blood and we're saved and spirit filled and we're born again, trust me, that's the best way to go. Number 2, are we really just camouflaging our procrastination with over planning? And what I mean by that is, you'll hear somebody say, oh yeah, you ask them about something they mentioned. Yeah, I'm doing this. I'm still trying to get this in place. About it. 2-3 years is going by. They're still doing that. It's like, okay, are you really going to do what you're planning to do? Or are you really just camouflaging your procrastination by saying you're planning it? You're still working out some things. Take a step. Pray about it and move. Number 3, are we going to continue being misled with the idea that there's always next year? There's not always, one year is going to be the last year of our lives. So there won't always be next year. I'll say that again. There will not always be next year. Do what we can right now. Pray about it, plan about it, proceed. Family, let's not be our own hindrance and have faith in him for our endurance. So in other words, don't get in our own way. God wants to bless us and do major things in our lives. But we get in the way of what God wants to do. If he put something in our spirit to do it, do it. Trust him. My life has been so blessed just from the peace alone by doing what God wants me to do. Again, this podcast right now is primitive at best, but I feel so good. I got so much work I need to do right now. So much. I really should have put this out yesterday, but I fell short and I did regular work before doing this. But right now I'm at peace. I've been thinking about the work that I had to do for the last, it's getting even busier. So it's always going to be there. But I'm at peace right now because I'm doing the Lord's work. I'm not going to be a hindrance to being a blessing for somebody else and a blessing to myself. Trust in him and he'll give us the endurance. Zechariah, the 4th chapter, the 10th verse. Do not despise these small beginnings, for the Lord rejoices to see the work begin, to see the plumb line in Zerubbabel's hand. That comes from Zechariah 4:10. It says, do not despise these small beginnings. All right. This is a small beginning. I'm using this podcast again. Watch how it grows, though. No editing, no backdrop. I'm going to get all of that. But as of now, I don't have it. But it's okay, though. I still have the message that God wants me to give. And that's the meat of what I'm doing. This is the small beginnings. Don't despise it. We have these grand notions of how we want it to be. Okay, that's cool. But start somewhere. Know that when you start, it can't always be as great and at the level that you want it to be. But do the best you can where you are and watch how God blesses it. The Lord rejoices to see the work begin. I'm still in Zechariah 4:10. I'm just recapping what it said. For the Lord rejoices to see the work begin. The reason he rejoices to see the work begin is because when we go ahead and act on what we have right then, that shows that we have faith. So he rejoices in that. To see the plumb line in Zerubbabel's hand. That was a character in Zechariah. He was building a temple, I believe. And that plumb line is referring to, he rejoices to see that plumb line in his hand. That's a plumb line is something that's used when building. I believe it makes a wall level. I looked up the definition and it still was a little bit fuzzy, but it looks like it's something in building to make sure a wall is level. Something that happens in the preparation of something being built, the construction of something. So that's at the beginning. God rejoices in that because he knows you're starting with where you are, and we have faith that he'll bless it to get to where it needs to be. As always, I want to leave you with 3 points. Ooh, I'm at 16 minutes. Sorry, y'all. But hopefully you're being fed from this. I'm going to try to keep it at 10, but if it goes to 16 or 20, that's just what it is. Watch it in pieces. But as always, I like to leave you with 3 points. Brainstorm. God will place an idea in your head. Or if we come in on an idea, we don't know if he brought it to us, pray about it. See what he says. Don't work out all the kinks. Work out some of the kinks, because it's called stinking kinking. You can't work out all of the kinks from the beginning. It's just impossible. There's always going to be something you need to tweak. 20 years down the line, after you've started something, it's still going to be something you need to tweak. Please understand that. You can't start out perfect and it will never be perfect. Move. So again, brainstorm, work out some plans, come up with some contingency plans, some fail safes, whatever. Begin. After you have the brainstorm period, get started. Begin. Because if we brainstorm and we begin, then we will beget. We'll beget the blessings that are waiting for us. We'll beget peace. We'll beget a million other things that come from actually doing something and not just talking about it. Hopefully the spiritual solution has fed you, is easily digested, and it keeps you nourished into the next spiritual solution that you receive. Jehovah elevates and sustains us. JESUS. Jesus. I'm Disciple for Jesus Theo. Just call me DJ Theo for short. And this is Tip of the CHRISTberg. Peace.